Welcome to Plan9Crunch reads a page of genre literature. This may say The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. I'm Doug Gibson, by the way, of Plan9Crunch. But we are actually going to read a page or so from The Masque of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe, which is also in this volume. If anyone has seen the 1960s Vincent Price adaptation of The Masque of the Red Death, you are very fortunate. It's a wonderful adaptation. And Poe's short story is not very long, but it does quite a bit encompass the movie. And I want to read a page where Prospero, who is the evil prince in this story, begins to encounter the Red Death, to be honest, all right? So we'll start reading right now. But these other apartments were densely crowded, and in them beat feverishly the heart of life, and the revel went whirlingly on, and at length there commenced the sounding of midnight upon the clock. And then the music ceased, as I have told, and the evolutions of the waltzers were quieted, and there was an uneasy cessation of all things as before. But now there were 12 strokes to be sounded by the bell of the clock, and thus it happened. Perhaps the more of thought crept, with more of time, into the meditations of the thoughtful among those who reveled. And thus too it happened, perhaps, that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sunk in silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who had found leisure to become aware of the presence of a masked figure, which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. And the rumor of this new presence having spread itself whisperingly around, there arose at length from the whole company a buzz or murmur, expressive of disapprobation and surprise, and finally of terror and of horror and of disgust. In an assembly of phantasms such as I have painted, it may well be supposed that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masquerade license of the night was nearly unlimited, but the figure in question had out-Heroded Herod, and gone beyond the bounds of even the prince's indefinite decorum. There were chords in the hearts of the most reckless which cannot be touched without emotion. Even with the utterly lost, to whom life and death are equally jests, there are matters of which no jest can be made. The whole company, indeed, seemed more deeply to feel that in the costume and bearing of the stranger neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, and shrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of the grave. The mask which concealed the visage was made so nearly to resemble the countenance of a stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny must have had difficulty in detecting the cheat. And yet all this might have been endured, if not approved, by the mad revelers around. But the mummer had gone so far as to assume the type of the Red Death. His vesture was dabbled in blood, and his broad brow, with all the features of the face, was besprinkled with the scarlet horror. When the eyes of Prince Prospero fell upon this spectral image, which, with a slow and solemn movement, as if more fully sustained its role, stalked to and fro among the waltzers, he was seen to be convulsed, in the first moment with a strong shudder either of terror or distaste, but in the next his brow reddened with rage. "Who dares?" he demanded hoarsely of the courtiers who stood near him. "Who dares insult us with this blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements." It was in the eastern or blue chamber in which stood the Prince Prospero as he uttered these words. They rang throughout the 7 rooms loudly and clearly, for the prince was a bold and robust man, and the music had become hushed at the waving of his hand. So what's going on here is, with death all around them, the plague and everything, these exceedingly vain, selfish people were all gathered, thinking they were protected from all this in a castle and everything. And suddenly this specter that we just described comes upon them, and Prince Prospero, the host of the party, is outraged. It doesn't take very long to read The Masque of the Red Death. You might even be able to find it online, or grab the Vincent Price movie I think it's on, what do they call it? Something called, it's on some channel. I can't remember what it's called, but try just going in a search in your cable. You might be able to watch it today if you want to. Once again, this has been Plan 9 Crunch Reads a Page from Genre Literature. I'm Doug Gibson. We're happy you're watching, and that's a wrap.